Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday afternoon, December the 20th, 2020. I hope everyone is doing as well as possible and had a good week, and that you're safe and well, and I'm hanging in there. So I'm going to try and make this short. We're going to look at methane today and Arctic sea ice and maybe a couple of other things. Not sure. Gonna start with the NOAA methane data, and this is my weekly update that I will be putting on YouTube. So here's the NOAA methane data for yesterday, the 19th, for the 477/469 millibar reading. Here's the Met-1 satellite in the morning. The mean or average was 1,899 parts per billion. The high reading was 2633. In the afternoon, the mean was 1898. The high reading was 2352. On the Met-2 satellite in the morning, the mean was 1876. The high reading was 2312. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1878. The high reading was 2345. So here's the spreadsheet that I'm working off of, where I've been tracking this methane data since March of 2019. Here's where we started out, under 1,860 parts per billion. So this is the weekly data here. So here's the data for the 19th that I just called off, added up the means and divided by 4, and we come up with an average of 1887.75 parts per billion overall for this last week, showing a decrease of 1.5 parts per billion this week. So here's where it went down this week. So we're under 1890. We've been under 1890 all week now. And let's go down here. So the change since February the 29th, or the where I started over this year of tracking the data, to the 19th has been an increase of 11.25 parts per billion. The change from March the 1st of 2019 to yesterday has been an increase of 30.5 parts per billion. And in the last year, last year I took a reading on the 21st of December, and so that's as close as we can get to a year back. We've had an increase of 22.75 parts per billion. So where we were this time last year, we're 22.75 parts per billion higher. So here's where it was going down last year, and it reached the lowest on December the 28th. Right here, of 1861.75 parts per billion. And then it started going back up in January. So I don't know if it's gonna bottom out, how much lower it's gonna go. It seems like a small decrease this week. Now the week before, my report last week, It went down 5.25 parts per billion. It's just been going down slowly, but it's not looking good. So here's what it did this week, and for my members on Subscribestar, you get a daily update on the NOAA methane and the CAMS methane if it's available. So I'd like to encourage you to check that out if you haven't done so already. So here we are. Last week on Sunday when I did the report, now the NOAA data, it comes in a day later. So the Saturday data was 1889.25. Then on Sunday it went down another part per billion. On Monday it went down 0.25. On Tuesday it went up 1 part per billion. On Wednesday it went down 0.25. On Thursday it went up 0.25. On Friday it went down 1 part per billion. And on Saturday it went down just barely 0.25 parts per billion. So it was really waffling around this week. It didn't go just down, down, down. And the decreases were not more than 1 part per billion at a time. So it went down slowly, and so we only ended up with a decrease of 1.5. Whereas last week, on my show, it went down 5.25. So we'll see. It could be that we're almost at the bottom of the decrease. Now, historically, it's gone down and then started back up generally in April, but we're finding in recent years that it started back up earlier than that, and we don't ever go back down to where we started from the year before because it's going up so fast. So that's the NOAA data. So now we'll look at CAMS. This is the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services website out of the EU. Here we have methane. I have Saturday the 19th loaded up, Arctic view, and surface level ready to go. There's our color ledger. So let's go ahead and run this movie. So the data is for Saturday and the forecast is running Sunday through Wednesday. Now we're still seeing mostly green over the northern hemisphere, over the continents at least. We've got a little bit of blue coming in, but mostly green, and we've even got a green wave. I just now noticed that. See, in the forecast period, watch this green wave see come in on this west coast. Normally we see some blue over here in the western US, but we got green moving in. And these different colors of green moving out across the Arctic region here, this methane coming up through the sea ice. So that hasn't stopped. We're still having very high readings next to Komsolometz Island. This is part of Severnaya Zemlya, and that's not getting any better. It looks like it's breaking out. We've got it popping up here in the Kara Sea as well. In the forecast period, we have some higher readings coming back up in Russia here. Now we'll go to the North Pole view. So here's here's India. It's still filling up and streaming out in the coastlines here in the Bengal Bay. Here's China. We're seeing it's not as filled up. We're seeing a little bit of lightening up here, but it's still pretty filled up and streaming out across the coastlines. Here in the US and Canada, Texas and the Mississippi Valley region is looking pretty bad. The East Coast. See, it just depends on the day. Getting really high readings. And then California is still filled up with methane. Europe, you're still having a lot of methane. UK and Ireland, see it's going down into Spain, and then down here into Italy and the Mediterranean area. Here's the Persian Gulf. That's always high because of the oil refineries there. Now we'll look at the global view. So we're seeing this purplish haze south of the equator over a lot of this southern hemisphere. This is the next color down from this navy blue. The navy blue is 1800 parts per billion right there, and so this purplish color is 1780 to 1800. And we're still see the light blues popping up around the Arctic coast. We're still seeing it pop up. This is where sea ice has already melted in these regions. This is the Western Peninsula. Now we'll look at 500 HPA. So here we are today. Let's see, the reds are spreading out from China across Kamchatka, Russia, and across the Pacific, the Aleutian Islands, and then it's not as concentrated. We can see there are lots of areas without the red that's in the orange and the yellows now because methane is going down, and we're seeing more greens come up higher. That's a lower color than the orange and yellow. And more blues are coming in as well. Here's total column now. And the highest readings are still over China here in southern Asia, and red here in the Indian Ocean. And we've got more greens coming down now. It's not just filled up with yellow in this northern hemisphere and over the Arctic like it had been. Now I want to go ahead and show you these other few pictures that I took. This is the ozone hole over the Antarctic today. We can see that it's getting smaller now. In 2 days will be the winter solstice, and that's when we have the shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere and the longest day of the year in the southern hemisphere. And then the Earth will start tilting back on its axis, and the days will start getting shorter in the southern hemisphere as they start getting longer in the northern hemisphere. But it's still concerning to see how large this hole is and how it's covering up a lot of the mainland. It's getting thinner. We're not seeing the darker blue or any black in here. But it's still in the danger zone within this black line. Now here's ozone over the Arctic region today. We've got a quite thin area over the Scandinavian countries. And we're see all of this dark reddish dark red here. This is coming up from China, and this is from, I'm thinking it's from pollution. It's bad ozone, but they figure any kind of ozone is better than no ozone because it blocks out cosmic rays and stuff. But bad ozone has a lot of pollutants and things that are bad for the earth and for the breathing systems as well. Now this is the East Tropic view, and we have a hole that's just developed today over the West Pacific, and this is Japan here, so it's just south of Japan, and we can it's in the black line. This is that purplish blue. Now this is between 200 and 220 Dobson units, so that's in the danger zone. And the next color up from that is the aqua, so that's quite thin as well over the southern Asia area. And then the green, this blue-green is the next color, and then green is the next color. So from Africa all the way over, you're quite thin, and Australia, you have very thin ozone. I mean, you're not in the danger zone like this hole here, but I would recommend that when you go out that definitely wear long sleeves and a hat, and try and keep from getting too much sun exposure, because your skin will burn with this. And here's the global view of the ozone. So here's this hole over the Antarctic. Now there's a break down here. Here's the Western Peninsula. So where it comes up through the Atlantic, it's thin all the way up, and then all the way around the mid-latitudes. And there's that hole in the West Pacific. Here's sulfur dioxide for today. We can see the highest areas here in China. This is from pollution. And then India, Saudi Arabia, Kazakhstan, and so forth. Here it is at 500 HPA. Now we've got a new higher reading here on this east coast of South America. I think that's Brazil. Yeah. You see it's kind of nudging up there right on that edge. I'm not sure what that's from. Could be from fires. Anyway, that's kind of going up to 500 HPA. We're not seeing anything too huge at this reading, but we are seeing things climb up to that level. That's all of those pictures. Now we'll move on to sea ice. Now this is from Climate Reanalyzer, sea ice and snow cover for today. This is the Arctic, and you can see all the snow on land coming down, and here all the way across Russia and Greenland. Now here's the sea ice up here in the Arctic, here in Baffin Bay and Hudson Bay. So let's just click back through and see. So here we were last Sunday on the 13th. So I will go slowly and you can see what has happened this week. Here's the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and here it is on the 20th. So as far as growth, it's coming back very slightly here in the Kara Sea. There's a little bridge of ice from Novaya Zemlya over now. It's come back around Franz Josef Land and on this eastern side of Svalbard, but this western side is still pretty much ice-free for whatever reason. And here in the Chukchi Sea, that has filled in. The Bering Strait is starting to fill in. It's coming back around all of Alaska, the Alaska coastline, and Russia here, but it's not coming back much on this eastern side of Russia. So there's that. Okay, I've kind of got these out of order, but this is the next one I want to show. This is sea ice thickness for the Arctic for today. This is from the Navy model. We'll zoom in. So the darker purple it is, the thicker it is, up to about 1 meter thick. And then it goes from purple to blue as it gets thicker. So it's starting to thicken up. We're starting to see some blues across here and blues here. I named these quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now here in quadrant 1, here's where it's still filling in around this Russia coastline. And we can see very light purple coming down through the Bering Strait and along the coast of Alaska there. And then it's come back to the coastline, all of Siberia, and here's the Yamal Peninsula. It's come back around there, and we've got a little fringe. It's coming back to this eastern side of Novaya Zemlya. The western side is still ice-free. This is the Barents Sea, and here's the Kara Sea. Here's Franz Josef Land. See, it's got ice all around it. Now here's Svalbard. See, on this east side it's good, but see the west side it's open. for whatever reason. Now down here in quadrant 3, this is Greenland, and we can see it's thickening up north of Greenland into the aqua range. The bright aqua is about 2 meters thick. Now there's an area down here in I think it's the Nares Strait. This is opened up. There's a hole that's opened up here just off this western edge of Greenland. I don't know why. Could be, I don't know. It's probably warming from underneath for some reason. Now in quadrant 4, we've been watching what's left of this thickest sea ice. This is the remnant. It had been over here at the end of the melt season, but we've been watching this mass move. It's been sliding down. It's not anchored in. It can't get a foothold in these islands in this Canadian archipelago, and it's just sliding down into this Beaufort gyre. So I'm pretty upset about that. We can see these see the light purple and the lavender. That's where it's pulled away from these islands. It's not anchored in. This whole mass is moving, and you'll see when we go to the Beaufort view, you'll see. Now here's the 30-day animation. The forecast goes out a week from now to the 27th, and the data starts 3 weeks back. So you can see it moving, even though we've got thickening going on back here on the tail, and it's thickening as it's moving. It's still sliding down. Now when we zoom in, you can get a better view. See? You can see that. See, it pulled away there because the ice drift. See, it hops up and then back, and then it's pulling out. Especially in the forecast period. Oh, I missed it. Here we go. Okay, here's the last day of the forecast period, and we can see it's free of those islands there, and it's sliding down. And it's going to get caught up in this gyre, I think, and it's going to just break up. So there's that. Next, this is the Beaufort the Beaufort Sea view. This is also from the Navy. This is for today. So here's that thickest sea ice. It's a different viewpoint. This is Alaska down here, Canada over here. So here it is today. We can see it's pulled away from the coast of these islands and out of these little bay areas, and it's just sliding. This is the thickest part right in here, and it's not very much, and it's just like red-orange and going up to like 4.5 meters thick, maybe. And then there's a little red around this edge here. But watch this. This is the 30-day animation. So we can see here on the 27th, this is the forecast where we can see the cracks where it's breaking up as it's being pulled out. And look how far away from this coastline it is. There's a break there. It's sliding out. The whole thing is sliding down to the Beaufort Gyre. And it's pulled away from the coastline down here too. So that's pretty upsetting. So here's the ice drift map. This is also from the Navy, and this is the direction that the ice is moving and the speed. This is dependent upon the waves and the ocean currents and the air and a whole bunch of things all put together. So here it is for today. Here's the 30-day animation. I know that looks kind of crazy, but there's so much movement there. It's like this ice doesn't have a chance, and it goes in cycles, and the gyre just, goes in this big cycle of movement around. So by next Sunday, it's pretty quiet, but here it is today. Now it's been moving a lot. See the movement? See the darker and the red? That's a lot. That's the faster movement. And the arrows. It's been shoving it down this whole week. See. Here it was last Sunday, the 13th. So it's been moving all week. Look at that. On the 15th, it's the 16th, 17th. Now it's picking back up. Look at that again. 18th. Here's the 19th. Here's today. It's slowing down. 21st. 22nd, 23rd. Now it's speeding up down here by Alaska, so whatever ice has moved down here, it's pulling it out. That's why we're seeing the cracks show up. See? Now it's slowing down on the 25th, 26th, and it's pretty slow by the 27th. But here it is. Now we can see what it's doing. Okay, here it is today. So I'll click through. Here's the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Now see the break? It's broken apart there. And it's cracked. See the crack here? Here's the 25th, 26th, 27th. So that's where it ends up next Sunday, and we can see it's cracked, and that's going to break off. And we've got pieces breaking off here. You can see that too. So that's what's going on there. Now, here's the Antarctic for today. This is the sea ice thickness. we're in high melt down here, especially with the ozone hole. It's been hovering all around and up north of that area too, in high melt. Now here's what it's been doing for the last 30 days, or 3 weeks back, and the forecast goes a week out from now. So we're going to be seeing very fast melting now. Okay, so that's all I had of those. Now let's move on. Here's sea ice index from National Snow and Ice Data Center. So this is the concentration over the North Pole. So we see the blue is not as concentrated, meaning it's thinner and not packed together as well. But we're looking for white for it to be concentrated. Here's the extent, Arctic ice, sea ice extent. Now the blue line is this year, the dotted line is 2012. Now we have been below 2012 since the first part of October, and it looks like we're about tied with 2012 now. So for this time of year, it's still low, and 2012 was the lowest extent since they've been measuring until this year, and then we were lower after September, and before September we were lower than 2012. So it's been a record low year in my book. And remember that in 2012 that was thicker. What was left was much, much thicker than what we have now. So here's NASA World View. Here's sea ice concentration. So this is where we are. Here's where it's coming back in the Bering Strait and so on. Here's Novaya Zemlya, where it's coming back and so forth. Now we can go, wait, that's the 19th. Here we are, here's the 20th. So let's go back to where we were last week. Here it was on the 13th. I'll just click through. So that's where we're at. It's slowly making its way back. We're just watching. I'm real worried about the remnant of that thickest sea ice. I'm afraid that's going to go away during the winter time. So that's what I'm watching. Let's refresh this. Okay, now we'll take a peek at the Antarctic. Now I've been tracking this A68 iceberg up here. It missed South Georgia Island right there. Now that's cloud covered right now. It made a hard right, and this piece broke off. This was on the 17th, and now it's headed back. I think they're steering it. We see evidence. See the ripples in the clouds. This is evidence of beaming of electromagnetic frequencies from whatever source that is. But we've been seeing evidence of that in the clouds around here and north of here for weeks now. And so I think they've been steering this to keep it from running into any major island. But the back end broke off. So I'll show you what it did this week. Now here we are last Sunday, so this was pretty cloud covered. So here's the island up here. Here's the iceberg, and they thought it was just going to go right over, but you know, I think they can call in the Space Force and probably break it up with laser beams if they wanted to. Anyway, here it was on the 14th. Now it's cloud free there. It's a weird color, but anyway, see, it's starting to turn already. Here's the 15th. We can't see it here, it's too cloudy. Here's the 16th. Now look at, see all those ripples, and that's not normal. It's not natural. See, it's already been turning. Here's the 16th. Here's the 17th, and the back end has broken off, and see how much it's turned away. Here's the 18th, it's moving out. Here's the 19th, it's hard to see. Here's more beaming up here. And here it is today. And so it's moving out. See, and here's, see that? That's the beaming. They're steering it, I feel sure of it. Now they're worried about maybe it could run into some of these other South Sandwich Islands, but those are over here. Where are they? They're pretty far away, and I think if they keep steering this, they can have it miss all those islands. But there's the piece that broke off, and there it is. And it originally broke off of this Larsen C ice shelf right here. This is where it broke off. See that big hole there? In 2017. We can't see much on Pine Island Glacier today. It's pretty cloud covered. Here's the Thwaites, cloud covered. We've had high melt down here. The ice tongue, of course, that is broken off and it's in pieces, and that's all separated now. We haven't had any really good views this week. The best, here's the 15th. Oh, here we go. Here's the 14th. There's the 13th. That was last Sunday. I showed that. Here's the 14th. So you can see that's made a clean break. And up here on Pine Island, that's broken off.
But this Thwaites Glacier, that's called the Doomsday Glacier, from the potential for sea level rise when that all starts pouring into the ocean. Down here is the Ross Sea. See, that's ice free here. Here's the Ross Ice Shelf here. Then here's the east side. This is the Amory ice sheet. We can see this is cloud covered today. Then here's the Brunt ice sheet. It's covered, cloud covered. But you can see the ice has already melted around there. The sea ice, that's all. Ice free. So there's that. Now we'll look at Climate Reanalyzer real quick. Here's 2 meter temperature anomaly for today. We can see it's still brown right over the Arctic basin, and it's brown over the Kara Sea and then coming up in the North Atlantic. Now look at these the Norwegian area. It's reddish brown, so it's really hot, much higher than normal. Now these are air temperatures, but look at all this cold air over Alaska and northern Canada, and then it moves into reddish brown as you come down south. Now, because of all of that cold air, and see, it's got a bunch of cold air over Russia too. The Arctic is at minus 0.6 C higher, or it's 0.6 C lower than normal. Yesterday it was at 0, so it was in balance. But see, the northern hemisphere is up 0.6 C. The Antarctic is up 1.3 C. Worldwide, we're up 0.2 C. So the temperature's gone down now overall. Here's precipitation. We can see it's raining off the coast of Norway. Sea level pressure. We've got a low pressure system here next to Iceland coming up. We've got a high pressure system set up over the Arctic. Here's the jet stream. We can see it's still choppy and broken up. Let's see, it's running very fast across Japan and then across the Pacific. We saw sea ice and snow cover. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly. This is from Friday. We see it's still brown up here in the Arctic Ocean and brown around Greenland. We still have this red blob in the North Atlantic going up into pink. So the North Atlantic is up 0.6 C, higher than normal. Northern Hemisphere and North Pacific are up 0.5 C, higher than normal. So there's that. Now I wanted to go over earthquakes.
I took these pictures this morning. There were 294 worldwide for all magnitudes. See this big dot? This is a 6.3 off the coast of Japan, northern coast of Japan. That came in, when was it? We'll look at that. We've got a 4 something here in Colorado. Here in the lower 48 we've got 196. Here in Southern California we've got 47. That's kind of a high number. Here at Cyril's Valley Ridgecrest area we've got 17. Here in western Nevada over to Mammoth Lakes, California, we've got 73. The largest one is this 2.9 at Mena, Nevada. Now, east of Reno were 3. How many were here? Okay, there are 4 earthquakes here. One is down here at Carson City, but we've got 3 up by Fernley. The largest one was this 2.1 near Fernley. And then a 1.5 and 1.7 at Fernley. Now here's Fernley. This is east of Fernley. So we normally don't see them here. So that's kind of a big deal to see them there, especially that 2.1. Here in Northern California, now this is north of the geysers. We've got a 1.7 at Redway and a 1.0 at Shingletown. Here in the Pacific Northwest over to Yellowstone, we've got a 10, with the largest one being a 2.8 near Ravensdale, Washington. This is southeast of Seattle. And then the rest of them, most of the rest of them are here at Stanley, Idaho. Here in Colorado, the reporting station was LaSalle, Utah, but there were 2 here in western Colorado, a 3.3 that was 0.4 kilometers deep and a 4.3 that was at the surface, 0 kilometers depth. So that we normally don't see them there, and that's a large earthquake, but it is on the edge of the North America craton. And then we've got one on the Colorado-New Mexico border, a 1.3 at Stonewall Gap. Then Oklahoma up into Kansas we have 7, and we had a 2.9 at Eastboro, Kansas, and a 2.9 at Quinton, Oklahoma too. And we had a 2.1 in Illinois, southern Illinois, near Dubois, Illinois. We normally don't see them there either. Puerto Rico is showing 13 today. South America is showing 4 in the 4s range today. Hawaii is showing 23, with the largest one being down here in the ocean at 3.2. We can see they're mainly clustered at Kilauea and Pahala. Alaska is showing 43 today. Here in the South Pacific we've got 3, including one on land in New Zealand on the southern island near Blenheim at 4.5, and then
4.3 at Tonga, 347 kilometers deep, and a 4.8 at Fiji, I think. That was 561 kilometers deep. Here in Indonesia area, we've got 5, and these are mid-range to high-range 4s. Now here's Japan. Look how these are lined up all in a straight line. There are 4 here. The largest is the 6.3. This came in at 9:23 this morning Pacific time. And down here is a 5.1, 4.7 at Ofunatu, and a 4.6 at Shenzunai, Furukawa. So they're all lined up in a row there, but these were in the ocean. So with this 6.3 being in the ocean, the water buffers a lot of the shaking. So I don't know if it did any damage on land or not. If it had been on land, it would have done damage, but with it being in the ocean, it probably didn't do that much damage. Then here's one to the west of Kamchatka, Russia, 4.5 near Polana. And then we've got in the Middle East, we've got a 4.3 Afghanistan over here, and a 4.3 at Turkey. Then in South Africa, we had a 3.6 near Gaborone, Botswana. That's all. So let's see what other earthquakes might have come in of note. This one's new. Just south of Kamchatka, 4.5. And we can see this is active, this Aleutian Island region. We've got, these are 4s, 3s. What are these 3s? Yeah, in the Aleutian Island chain. Here's another one at Fernley. Look at this. Here's a whole cluster. Now there are 6 here. Look at that. There were 3 here this morning. So this is rocking. 2.1, 1.5, 1.7, 2.0, 1.2, and 2.7 is the last one that's come in. So, I don't know. That's kind of concerning. So these are, you know, it's always moving. You can see the red dots, those are the new ones. It's always moving. So there's that. Let's see. This is, we've got a little cluster going on up here. Here's the Seattle. Here's Seattle. We've got 5 here. 2.8 Ravensdale. 1.9, 1.3, 1.2, and 1.1. All in this area. So there's that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up. I'm continuing with reading out of the Bible. We're still in Psalms chapter 119. There were 22 stanzas for this chapter, and I'm only doing a stanza per show, and there's a stanza for each letter of the Hebrew alphabet, so 22. Mame. Oh, how love I thy law! It is my meditation all the day. Thou through thy commandments hast made me wiser than mine enemies, for they are ever with me. I have more understanding than all my teachers, for thy testimonies are my meditation. I understand more than the ancients, because I keep thy precepts. I have refrained my feet from every evil way, that I might keep thy word. I have not departed from thy judgments, for thou hast taught me. How sweet are thy words unto my taste, yea, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. So, I'm praying for everyone, and this is true, that if we meditate on God's Word, we will have deeper understanding. Our minds will be open, and the Holy Spirit will help us to discern and to understand things in ways that other people are not able to, because that's what the Word does. It's the living Word, and it's our guiding compass. And if you don't have a spiritual compass, especially that of God and Jesus, in these end days, in these dark days that are upon us, it's going to be very difficult, and people will be deceived. So, I'm praying for everyone. So, if you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I recommend you do it now. Time is running out, and time is so short. So until next time, I hope you have a good week, and I'll be talking to you real soon. I love you all. God bless you. Go in peace, and good night.